We begin by marking out the bag as per your tutor book. Be very careful and accurate with how you draw out the various markings. Be sure to be spot on with your measurements. Through time you'll probably develop your own measurements. You might like the blow stick slightly forward, slightly to one side, but whatever it is, that will come with experience. Follow the guidelines in the tutor as a first step. Once you've carefully marked out the bag, use one of your stocks to draw a circle round each position for each stock. And that's easily done again, just using a pen and the stock, draw the circumference of the circle that's required. Repeat that for all the stocks on the pipe, with of course the exception of the pipe chanter. Then, taking a sharp knife, begin to score the skin of the bag within the circle until you have managed to cut through. Then you can begin to cut out the actual hole by carefully scoring the skin and drawing the knife up to the edge of the circle. Be careful how you do this, and we don't want you to harm your fingers. It might be a good idea to put a small flat piece of wood or disc of plastic inside the bag to make sure that you don't cut through into the other skin. We mustn't, of course, puncture the skin. Feed one stock at a time into the bag, and you're now ready to start the tying in process. We do this firstly by making a loop of tying in string. This is very important because we're going to use that to feed the loose end of the tying in string back through the strands of string that are around the stock and secure them firmly in place. We begin by taking a good length of string, tying it around a stick, or an old broom handle, part of an old broom handle, and then we put it under our feet and pull it taut. We tie a loop on the end of the string, and then we're ready to begin the actual tying in process itself. Now we place a separate loop underneath the taut string, and putting the broom handle or piece of wood under our feet, we begin to wrap the threads carefully into the groove, round the groove of the stock. And when we've done that, we feed the loose end through the loop and pull it under the strands. And here we have the completed tied in stock. The chanter stock poses one or two different problems, and we have to be very careful when we're tying the chanter stock in. It is prone to leaking if it's not done properly. And what we suggest you do is take some lengths of hide or sheepskin, feed it into the groove of the chanter stock and wrap it with some strands of waxed hemp. And this provides a very firm base which will allow the tying in string and the skin to bite into the groove and secure the bag firmly. Feed the stock into the bag and then just begin the tying in process as before. But before we do that, we have to make up some packing pieces to cover the corner, the angle that's formed by the seam of the bag and the skin, the stock, where it's inserted into the skin. So holding the two packing pieces firmly in place, we now begin the tying in process as before. And by this time you'll have had a good bit of practice on the 3 drones and the blow stick, so you should know what you're doing. And luckily the most difficult stock of all comes at the end. So start winding the taut thread, a lot of pressure needed here to make it bite right into the groove of the chanter stock. Pull it very tight and you'll see that's just what's happening here. Wrap it round and round until it's as firm as you think it can be. And there you see the loose end of the loop. And we're about to cut that, always using the knife away from the body, and we feed the loose end through the loop and using a stick or maybe the fingers, if your fingers are strong enough, you could pull the loop underneath the strands to form a completely well tied in stock. Then add some seasoning to the bag, rub it in well, Test it by blowing it up. You should hear nothing escaping. You shouldn't hear any hissing escaping from the stalks. If it's not quite tight, add some more seasoning, rub it in again, and try once more, go through the process once more. All we're trying to do here is feed the seasoning into the pores of the skin, to block the pores of the skin, and also to block any gaps that it might be in the seam, and also where we've tied in the bag on the gap between the stock and the skin at the tying in threads. And if you get a good hard metallic response, you'll know you've done a good job of tying in your pipe bag.